Hey, welcome to Proben's Garage. I'm pretty excited about today's episode because it's turbo time.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Carl, we're just starting the.
Thanks for stopping by.
You're such an idiot. I think a pretty easy workaround for this, seeing as it definitely will not clear the alternator, is I'm just gonna have to modify this collector here. So I'm just gonna cut these guys off, and I might just take a piece of 3-inch pipe and I'll just weld that on and have it turned down and go around however I need it to go. I swear the best welds I ever do are always in an area where you're never gonna see. And then the shittiest ones, always right in your face. Whatever. So I'm going from 3-inch here down to 2 1/4, mainly because we want to get our exhaust velocity up before it hits the turbo. We don't want to go any smaller than that really because we don't want to create too much back pressure. So speaking of back pressure, going from 3-inch down to 2 1/4, you need some type of reducer. So I bought these concentric reducers. These have a nice smooth transition down to whatever size you're trying to go to, so it doesn't create more back pressure in that. You can find some cheaper ones on like Amazon or eBay, but a lot of them look like this, and that's definitely going to slow down your exhaust, create some turbulence and back pressure. And we want as little back pressure as we can get. So right now, I'm gonna take a couple more pie cuts. As you can see, I already screwed that up, but we can fill that in with weld. A couple more pie cuts and get this thing pointed in the right direction. We've definitely got some stuff to avoid down here. Coolant lines, we got AC lines running off the condenser here, and then heater core lines. So the heater core lines, I know I can use some bends in there and get that to move around. But down here it gets a little tight. And I don't want to go all the way below the frame rail. I'd like to keep this pipe as short as possible and then try to make the other side as close to the same length as possible. So I think I'm coming down and then going right through here. Most definitely gonna have to wrap this with exhaust wrap so we don't burn belts and hoses and stuff. All right, so if you haven't figured it out yet, that bracket that I've been building is just a support for the turbo. This bolts onto the bottom side, which is bolted right onto where the oil drain goes. So that's why I machined those, so they'd be nice and flat and they'll seal up against gaskets. But doing this, you know, even though it's ugly.
Yeah, that looks pretty stupid there, bud.
Thanks, Frank. Great input there. Even though it's ugly, it's doing a lot of good. So we don't want all of our turbo weight, which is probably about 40 pounds, resting on just the exhaust. With the engine vibration, it's gonna make your exhaust crack over time. And even with this bracket here, it may still crack, but this thing adds a lot of rigidity and it's attached to the motor. So as the motor vibrates, this is moving with it. Less chances of breaking your exhaust. And the other good thing about it is it holds your turbo while you're building your exhaust to the turbo. So you don't have to hold it on an engine hoist like I was doing until I just hooked that up. So anyway, we had some mount locations on here. There's one down here on the block, right there. Then there's another one on the front, right next to the timing cover. You can see I added some reinforcing braces on there on both sides. And this other one there. Also had to work around the power steering lines. And you know, we got to come out of here, go down and merge into the other side, and then have that come up into the hot side of the turbo. So I have a bend in here to allow that exhaust to come over and down. The charge side is going to come down and under here into the intercooler. I'm actually going to use an air filter when I'm driving on the street, so I had to plan for that. So there's just a lot of stuff you got to work around and make sure you're thinking about before you just go slapping your exhaust together. I don't want to have to redo this. I mean, I probably will at some point, maybe, but I don't want to have to redo it, so I'm trying to do it right from the start. So I think the next thing I'm going to take from here, come down under here, start moving this way, and then make a merge to go in here, going from 2 1/4 back to 3 inch, but we're doing two 2 1/4s into a 3 inch, so that's gonna be interesting. And then we're gonna have it go under the frame rail, I think, and up into the hot side of the turbo. So I showed these little reducers that I got earlier and why I didn't want to use them as reducers, but for expanders, they might be okay. So this is kind of just a little experiment. We're gonna see if it works. If it doesn't seem like it's gonna go well, I got a plan B. Actually, this is kind of like plan D, and I'm just trying it first for shits and giggles. I mean, I already had these, so. Anyway, I made a little block to hold this. It's at about a 25-degree angle. And basically it's just gonna hold it in my bandsaw so I can cut it. And then I'll try to merge these two together. The only issue that I see or foresee coming is getting in there to weld. Might be kind of annoying, but we'll just see how it goes. So it seems like this might actually work. Not 100% yet, but I'm gonna keep going and see how it goes. So what I gotta do next is make it fit up to a 3-inch pipe. So I'll just jam that in there, mark it off, and I'm gonna cut it, but doesn't that look like Fat Boy Santa got caught in the chimney? Maybe it's just me. But anyway, happy holidays. Well, we have definitely gone to Pie Town, but it's kind of what you got to do in situations like this. There's not a ton of room. We had to get around a lot of things. The radiator hose has to come up across here. We had to get down through here to go over to our merge. Got a little flex pipe in there, which is going to make it easier to put this thing together once it's fully welded out. And you can see this side comes down, cuts over, and then bends into our merge. I haven't made that piece yet because I want to fully weld out this side first, because when you fully weld it out, even though the joints are pretty tight and I got them all tack welded, this thing's still gonna move. I mean, it's gonna warp and twist a little bit and things aren't gonna fit exactly the same. So I'm gonna weld out this whole side, then put it back together and see where this lines up. And I may even weld out this whole piece as well first, and then we'll get that last piece in there. So down here you can see the merge. I also have another section I haven't put in yet, which is going to connect after the merge all the way up to that pipe that goes up to the turbo. And I also need to get a wastegate in here somewhere. I'm contemplating putting the wastegate up here, having it come off of this bend, and then kind of sit over here, and then possibly even tie back into the exhaust that's coming off the turbo. All right, so we can see we got this side all welded out, and I've welded out most of this side up to our little bend where they tie together, and I need to weld in another flex pipe here. So I've marked these off for my clocking and my position. I'm just gonna pop those out and weld them up, and then we are almost done with the hot side of the exhaust, which is kind of exciting. All right, so decided on my wastegate placement. This is the part that wraps under the frame, and so I made this little piece, spent about, I don't know, 3 years angle grinding it to the right dimensions so that it would actually have a nice, or at least decently tight fit. I'm going to put it about there, so I marked it off all the way around the outside, and then I marked it a little bit further in, so I'm going to cut out to that using the angle grinder, and then die grind out to the inner line. That'll leave me a little lip to weld onto, and then I can go back in with my die grinder and take out any more that's kind of sticking in, protruding. But this position gives us pretty good priority for the exhaust flow to go out the wastegate. So this is going to be mounted on here. With this direction, I think that when the wastegate opens, the exhaust will pretty easily flow out that. So it should work pretty well. Should be able to control the boost really well. So I'm gonna see what I can make happen and hopefully get this puppy on there. well, this was the last piece of the pre-turbo exhaust puzzle. As you can see, I got all the pieces there. It's not finished welded because I ran out of argon, but you get the idea. And also, I think it's kind of a cool place to put the wastegate. One, it's pretty easily accessible in here. And also, when you get up to boost, it's going to be shooting fireballs from behind the bumper.
That doesn't seem too safe there, bud.
It'll be fine, Frank. It's got to come out somewhere.
You're gonna shoot your eye out.
But anyway, I'm going to get that welded up off camera. So once I finish weld that last piece, which isn't very much, turbo exhaust is done. Which is fantastic because then it's just some charge piping, fuel lines, and then I got to install the Terminator X system. Should fire right up. Hopefully.
Welcome to Province Garage.
So-
Today's episode, we're gonna make crappy weld.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you like the video, like it. Hit the little like thing. That's what it's there for. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Hopefully next time, this thing will be running. I mean, you'll probably know by the thumbnail anyway, so catch you next time.